Hello everyone and welcome back to Immortal History. Today we're diving into a plot so audacious it sounds like a thriller, but it's all true. The Gunpowder Plot. Imagine this. Deep beneath the Palace of Westminster on the night of November 4th, 1605, a man named Guy Fawkes guards 36 barrels of gunpowder. In a few hours, King James I and the entire political elite of England are set to gather directly above. One spark would be enough to wipe them all out, plunging the nation into utter chaos. How did a small circle of disillusioned English Catholics come so close to pulling off one of the most infamous attacks in history? The full story is a tale of faith, betrayal, desperation, and a near miss that reshaped a nation. Keep watching to find out. To truly understand the fuse that led to this explosion, we first have to rewind a bit, back to 1603. Queen Elizabeth I, after a long and glorious reign, is dead. And the crown, in a move that many English Catholics hoped would usher in a new era of tolerance, passes to James VI of Scotland, who now becomes James I of England. English Catholics, who had endured decades of harsh persecution under Elizabeth, collectively breathe a sigh of relief. Why? Well, James's mother was the staunchly Catholic Mary, Queen of Scots. Surely, they reasoned, the new king would loosen the incredibly restrictive penal laws. These weren't just minor inconveniences, my friends. These were laws that fined Catholics for non-attendance at Protestant services, effectively criminalizing their faith. They barred them from universities, from entering the professions, and even from owning property if they refused to swear the oath of supremacy, which acknowledged the monarch as the head of the church. Rumors, sweet and intoxicating, even circulated that James had secretly promised toleration. But here's the twist. Instead of easing the pressure, the new king, James I, keeps the fines firmly in place. He actually increases the pressure, and then, in a devastating blow in 1604, he openly declares his detestation of the Catholic faith. For a generation of gentry who had grown up listening to hushed stories of priests hiding in ingenious priest holes and recusants, those who refused to attend Anglican services, paying crippling fines that could ruin their families, this felt like an ultimate betrayal. It was a slap in the face, a clear message that their hopes were utterly dashed. Into this cauldron of anger and despair steps Robert Catesby. Now, Catesby wasn't some fringe zealot living on the outskirts of society. Oh no. He was a Warwickshire squire, charismatic, with charm to spare, and pockets deep enough to travel and maintain a respectable appearance. He moved in the same elite circles as the very courtiers who would soon sit in Parliament. Yet, every single Sunday, this man, a gentleman of standing, had to furtively slip into a secret mass while his Protestant neighbors openly filed into the parish church. This duality, this constant hiding and humiliation, must have festered. It was in May 1604 that Catesby gathers 4 of his closest friends in the unassuming Duck and Drake Inn, just off the bustling Strand in London. And there, he floats an idea so extreme, so utterly shocking, that it almost stalls right there and then. His proposal, to blow up the House of Lords with gunpowder, assassinate the king, kidnap his 9-year-old daughter, Princess Elizabeth, raise her as a Catholic queen, and trigger a widespread uprising that would, in his mind, end the persecution forever. The sheer audacity. The men, after the initial shock, agree. They seal their pact with a solemn oath, hands laid upon a Bible that Catesby has smuggled in under his cloak. From that precise moment, my friends, the conspiracy is not just an idea. It's alive, it's breathing, and it's set on a collision course with history. Now, you might think gunpowder in the 17th century was easy to come by. And yes, if you knew the right ports and had the right connections, you could acquire it. But expertise in demolition? That was a rare commodity. Catesby knew he needed a specialist. He needed a soldier. Someone who understood fortifications, who could tunnel, lay charges with precision, keep watch silently, and, most importantly, remain utterly discreet. Enter Guy Fawkes. Or as he called himself after years serving in the Spanish army, Guido. Fawkes was no ordinary man. He was the son of a Yorkshire proctor, a committed Catholic who had left Protestant England in 1593 to fight for Catholic Spain in the 80 Years' War against Protestant rebels in the Low Countries. He was, by all accounts, an exemplary soldier, known for his courage, loyalty, and deep piety. Crucially, he had extensive experience with explosives and siege warfare, having fought at the Siege of Calais in 1596. This wasn't just some random recruit. This was a highly skilled military technician. Another massive advantage for the conspirators: Fawkes was practically anonymous in London. No one recognized the weather-beaten 34-year-old soldier who rented a quiet room in Catesby's quarter. This anonymity was priceless. Catesby meets him in a tavern garden in Lambeth, lays out a rough map of Parliament, and asks a single loaded question: would he strike a blow for the true faith? Fawkes, without hesitation, answers yes, kneels, and swears the same sacred oath the others took. The plot now has its technician, its designated igniter. Over the next months, the circle of conspirators widens. It grows from the initial 5 to 13 men. Each brings something vital to the table. Thomas Percy, a hot-tempered cousin of the Earl of Northumberland and a member of the King's bodyguard, leverages his connections to secure a lease on a small house that conveniently backs directly onto the Palace of Westminster. This was a stroke of genius, or so they thought. The initial plan had been far more arduous, to literally tunnel beneath the House of Lords. But that proved too difficult, too slow, and prone to flooding from the nearby Thames. So when a cellar directly under the Lords became available for rent, they seized the opportunity. Other key players join: Sir Everard Digby, Francis Tresham, Ambrose Rookwood, the Wright brothers, John and Christopher, and the Wintors, Robert and Thomas. These men bring money, horses for the planned uprising, and crucial contacts in the Midlands, where the rebellion was meant to ignite after the explosion. By December 1604, the conspirators have managed to store an initial 20 barrels of gunpowder in Percy's new cellar, carefully hidden under piles of coal and billets of wood. Then, a stroke of unexpected luck, or so it seemed at the time, Parliament's opening is delayed by an outbreak of plague in the capital. This gives them months, precious months, to dig deeper, to reinforce the walls of their secret space, and to replace the gunpowder when the saltpeter, that crucial ingredient, inevitably begins to clump and spoil. Little did they know, these delays were also increasing their risk, creating more opportunities for their elaborate scheme to unravel. Now let's talk about 17th century gunpowder. This wasn't the stable, factory-sealed stuff we know today. This was a volatile, unpredictable beast, highly susceptible to moisture and decay. It was definitely not shelf-stable. So in March 1605, the plotters face a critical problem. Their carefully hidden gunpowder is spoiling. Under the cover of dusk, they row across the River Thames, a scene straight out of a spy novel. They roll out the old, compromised barrels, replace the spoiled powder with fresh stock bought from Kingston and Henley, and then, with meticulous care, stack firewood over the barrels once more. Just enough to look innocent to conceal their deadly cargo, but not so much that it would muffle the devastating blast they envisioned. Weeks stretch into months. The tension must have been unbearable. Parliament is postponed again, adding to the conspirators' anxiety. King James is off hunting in Royston, seemingly oblivious, but his chief minister, Robert Cecil, is tightening security. His network of informers, the nascent English Secret Service buzzing with whispers of Catholic unrest. London itself is alive with talk of a potential Catholic conspiracy. Inside that dark, claustrophobic cellar, Guy Fawkes, the technician, the man of action, keeps his lonely vigil. Hood up, eyes constantly scanning, he watches every passing boatman, every flickering shadow. He's even cut a tiny peephole in the door, a pinprick of light so he can see torchlight in the passage outside. Each time a watchman walks by, Fawkes steadies his breathing, his heart pounding, and counts the barrels again. 36. 36 barrels, he knows, are more than enough to level everything within a 100-foot radius. The sheer destructive power they wielded was immense. Above ground, the rest of the gang, a mix of zealous idealists and desperate men, rehearse the next steps of their elaborate plan. On the detonation night, Sir Everard Digby, one of the wealthier conspirators, is to ride to the Midlands. His cover story, a lavish stag hunt. But his real mission is far more sinister. Snatch Princess Elizabeth from Combe Abbey, proclaim her a Catholic sovereign, and hold her until Spanish support arrives. There's a massive, almost tragic irony here. Spain, the great Catholic power, had never actually heard of the plan. Catesby, in his fervent conviction, simply assumed help would materialize once England was headless and plunged into chaos. He believed that the Catholic powers of Europe would naturally rally to their cause. Meanwhile, the conspirators maintain their double lives. They attend court, dance in masks, even greet the king himself, all the while picturing that very chamber, that very throne room reduced to rubble and ash. The psychological strain of this deception must have been immense, a constant tightrope walk between polite society and apocalyptic ambition. It is late October 1605. The air is thick with anticipation. Parliament is finally set to open on November 5th. The barrels are primed, the fuse meticulously cut, and Fawkes has tested the slow match, ensuring it will burn just as planned. The moment of truth is almost upon them. Then, on the evening of October 26th, everything changes. Lord Monteagle, a Catholic peer but crucially one not involved in the plot, receives a mysterious letter. It's sealed with anonymous wax, delivered by a stranger. The message is chillingly direct. "My lord, out of the love I bear to some of your friends, I have a care of your preservation. Therefore I would advise you, as you tender your life, to devise some excuse to shift off your attendance at this Parliament. For though there be no appearance of any stir, yet I say they shall receive a terrible blow this Parliament, and yet they shall not see who hurts them." The letter even suggests he burn it, but Monteagle doesn't. Instead, Monteagle, perhaps sensing the immense gravity of the situation, rides straight to Robert Cecil, the Earl of Salisbury, King James's chief minister. Cecil, a master spymaster and a man known for his calm, calculating demeanor, keeps his composure. He orders a quiet, discreet search of the vaults beneath the Lords. He doesn't want to tip off any potential plotters prematurely. On the night of November 4th, searchers make their initial sweep. They find the suspicious pile of coal and wood in the cellar, and, to their surprise, they find a man guarding it, whom they initially assume is just a servant. He gives his name as John Johnson and claims the stack belongs to his master, Thomas Percy. The searchers, seemingly satisfied, withdraw. They report back to the king, who, perhaps recalling the cryptic warning in Monteagle's letter, orders a second, more thorough search after midnight. This time they aren't so gentle. They break apart the pile of coal and wood, and there, unmistakable in the flickering torchlight, they uncover the barrels. 36 barrels of pure, unadulterated destruction. Guy Fawkes is seized. In his doublet, they find a pocket containing a slow match and touchwood, the very tools to ignite the fuse. A lantern sits nearby, casting a lone glow on his grim face. Under initial interrogation, he maintains his alias John Johnson and says little else, displaying remarkable stoicism. But the jig is up. The next morning, London wakes not to the terrifying roar of an explosion and plumes of smoke, but to the joyful pealing of church bells, celebrating a miraculous deliverance. The 5th of November has, in that pivotal moment, transitioned from a date of impending terror to the first failed terrorist attack in British history. The scale of the escape was almost unbelievable. News of the plot's discovery and Fawkes' capture spreads like wildfire, reaching Robert Catesby and the other conspirators in the Midlands that very same day. Panic sets in, but Catesby, ever the ideologue, refuses to give up. He rides to Huntingdon with the remaining plotters, where they receive absolution from a fugitive priest, a desperate spiritual cleansing before what they know will be a desperate fight. Then they head for Holbeshire House on the Staffordshire border. Their hope is fading, but they cling to the belief that they can still rally support, that the promised Spanish gold, though never actually pledged, might still materialize if they hold out long enough. But their grand plans for a Catholic uprising are crumbling around them. The local Catholic gentry, far from joining a lost cause, are terrified and wisely stay away. Instead of an army of supporters, a posse of 200 local militia surrounds Holbeshire House on November 7th. The conspirators, in a final desperate act, try to prepare for a siege. They soak table linen in pitch, draping it over wooden beams to make crude fire pikes. But in a cruel twist of fate, a spark from their own damp, poorly handled gunpowder ignites. The resulting explosion badly burns several of them, including Catesby himself. Some of the plotters, interpreting this as divine disapproval, abandon the cause, further decimating their numbers. At dawn, the militia storms the building. It's a bloody, chaotic end. Robert Catesby and Thomas Percy are shot while standing together in the courtyard, reportedly holding the same sword, a final defiant gesture of solidarity. Percy, though shot, survives for a few days before succumbing to his wounds. The Wright brothers also perish in the siege. The survivors are dragged back to London, their dreams of a Catholic England shattered and imprisoned in the Tower. Under royal orders, they are starved, deprived of sleep, and then, slowly, agonizingly, coerced to talk. Torture, including the rack, was authorized for Fawkes, and while he initially resisted, his later testimonies provided crucial information. By December, the government has extracted enough confessions to stage a meticulously planned show trial in Westminster Hall. 8 conspirators, including Fawkes, Digby, Robert Wintour and Grant, stand accused beneath the very roof they had intended to destroy. They are condemned to the horrific execution of hanging, drawing and quartering. This wasn't just a death sentence. It was a public spectacle of dismemberment, designed to be a terrifying deterrent. Fawkes, weakened by torture but still defiant, manages one last act of rebellion. On January 31st, 1606, as he is led to the scaffold, he leaps from the ladder, breaking his neck and cheating the executioner of the full, agonizing ritual. He avoids the gruesome disembowelment while still alive. The others are not so lucky. Their severed heads are spiked on London Bridge, a chilling warning to any future dreamers of holy rebellion. It was a brutal end to a brutal plot, a clear message from the Crown. Treason would not be tolerated. So why did they do it? Strip away the gunpowder, the dramatic capture, the gruesome scaffold, and what you're left with is a group of young men, many of them gentlemen of standing, who genuinely felt their world was shrinking, suffocating under the Protestant regime. This wasn't just personal spite, it was a profound sense of injustice. The penal laws were a constant daily oppression. Their wives couldn't inherit estates unless they conformed to the Church of England. Their children were barred from pursuing education at universities or entering respected professions like law or medicine. Their priests, the spiritual guides of their community, lived in constant fear of arrest, imprisonment, and torture on the rack. Robert Catesby, the mastermind, a widower himself, watched his family estates erode under the crushing weight of fines for recusancy. Guy Fawkes, the soldier, fought abroad for Catholic Spain because England, his homeland, offered no place, no honor for a Catholic soldier. Thomas Percy, a trusted member of the King's Own Guard, wore the royal livery, yet couldn't openly receive communion in his own faith. These weren't abstract grievances, these were deeply personal affronts to their identity, their family, their faith, and their honor. Now, desperation, we can all agree, does not excuse mass murder, but it absolutely explains why otherwise rational gentlemen, men of their standing and education, gambled absolutely everything on one spectacular apocalyptic strike. They truly believed that by removing the king and his Protestant bishops, they could force a Catholic succession, or at the very least, negotiate a long sought-after toleration for their faith. In an age where assassination was, shockingly, sometimes seen as a legitimate tool of policy, remember Henry IV of France had been murdered just 2 years earlier, they believed the moral equation balanced. History, of course, judged otherwise, and harshly, but their motives were far more complex than mere personal spite. They were political, yes. They were deeply ideological, driven by a fervent religious conviction. And in their scale and ambition, they were utterly apocalyptic, in the way only late Renaissance conspirators, convinced they were acting on God's behalf, could truly be. They believed they were fighting for the soul of England itself. The immediate effect of the Gunpowder Plot's failure was, predictably, a fierce Protestant backlash. Parliament, still reeling from the near catastrophe, rushed through the observance of 5th November Act in 1606. This law didn't just suggest, it ordered annual public thanksgiving, complete with bonfires and bell ringing, forever commemorating the most happy deliverance. It was a legal mandate to remember the failed plot, and it remained on the statute book until 1859. The consequences for Catholics were severe and immediate. They were effectively barred from sitting in either House of Parliament for centuries, a discriminatory measure that wouldn't be fully lifted until the 19th century. Fines for recusancy, for refusing to attend Anglican services, doubled then tripled, further crippling Catholic families. Jesuits and seminary priests, already operating in secret, were hunted with renewed brutal vigor. The word papist became a casual slur, a derogatory term flung around to denote suspicion and disloyalty. The plot solidified a deep-seated Protestant fear of Catholic subversion that would linger for generations. Yet, in a fascinating historical nuance, the plot also convinced King James I that harsh, unrelenting uniformity might actually breed more desperate men. While he publicly condemned Catholicism over the next decade, he quietly allowed a limited Catholic presence at court. Provided it remained largely invisible and discreet, he understood that pushing people too far could have dangerous consequences. The real unsung winner in this whole dramatic saga was undoubtedly Robert Cecil, the Earl of Salisbury. He emerged as the cunning spy master who had saved the crown. His sophisticated network of informers and intelligence agents became the template, the very blueprint for every future English Secret Service. He literally laid the groundwork for state-sponsored espionage, a legacy that continues to this day. And November 5th, it evolved. By the 1620s, boys roamed the streets begging for firewood and pennies, carrying crude effigies, first of the Pope, then, later, of Guy Fawkes himself. Fireworks, those dazzling displays we associate with the night, arrived in the 1650s. Crackers, adding to the festive noise, joined the celebrations in the 18th century. By the Victorian era, the sharp, anti-Catholic edge of the celebrations softened, transforming into a more generalized civic night of pyrotechnics, communal bonfires, and of course, sticky toffee apples. Today, most Britons cheer the rockets bursting overhead without truly remembering the grim political and religious reasons why the date was ever marked. But that memory, that flickering echo of a narrow escape from regicide and revolution, still glimmers in every spark that lights the sky. It's a testament to how deeply this one failed plot etched itself into the national consciousness. Fast forward 4 centuries, and the face of the plotter is absolutely everywhere. In 1982, the iconic graphic novel V for Vendetta gave Guy Fawkes a grinning, stylized mask. Then, in 2006, the film adaptation catapulted that mask into a global symbol of protest, worn by diverse groups like Anonymous, Occupy movements, and climate activists from London to Hong Kong. This mask, this symbol of a 17th century would-be bomber, now sells millions, each one a commercial twist on a radical act. And here's the delicious irony. The real Guy Fawkes was no anarchist, no champion of secular liberty. He fought for a theocracy, for a strictly Catholic England, not for individual freedoms as we understand them today. He was a man of intense, unshakable faith, believing his actions were divinely ordained. Yet the image endures. The story is simply irresistible. The ultimate underdog who almost topples the state, the fuse that almost burned, the anonymous letter that against all odds altered fate. Every time a protester dons that now iconic mask, they are, perhaps unknowingly, recycling a 1605 warning that governments can become so blind to the legitimate grievances of their people that they drive ordinary individuals to extreme, desperate measures. The chant, "Remember, remember the 5th of November," has become less a purely patriotic anthem celebrating averted disaster and more a powerful, adaptable meme. It's a meme that whispers a profound truth. Power is never absolute, and even 36 barrels of powder meticulously placed can ultimately be defeated by a single sheet of paper slipped under a door. It's a reminder that history, in its endless twists and turns, often hinges on the smallest, most unexpected details. If you found this deep dive into the heart of the Gunpowder Plot as fascinating as lighting your own sparkler, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to Immortal History for more untold tales, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next story from history's darker, more explosive corners. Drop a comment below telling us what historic plot or forgotten revolution you want uncovered next. And please, share this video with anyone who still thinks the 5th of November is just about fireworks. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, history always has another fuse waiting to be lit. 400 plus years on, we still set off fireworks on November 5th because, for one terrifying moment, England stood on the absolute brink of obliteration. The Gunpowder Plot failed, spectacularly so, yet the profound questions it raises linger, as relevant today as they were then. How far should a persecuted minority go to defend its identity and its beliefs? What truly happens when faith and politics collide in such a violent, unyielding way? And who, ultimately, gets to write the official version of history when the conspirators are dead, silenced by the state they sought to destroy? Every bonfire that blazes, every rocket that bursts overhead, is both an answer and a warning. The next time you watch a dazzling display light up the night sky, take a moment. Picture that dark, damp cellar, a single lantern casting long shadows, and a solitary soldier who, with a burning conviction, believed he could change the world with one spark. He nearly did. And that, my friends, is why we still remember.